Hi, I'm Tracy and I'm coming to you from my garden in Hurstbridge. It's the 20th of July, so still winter, but in another 4 or 5 weeks it's going to be time to start some of the spring and summer crops like tomatoes, capsicums, eggplants and so on, and that's going to require potting mix. So what I thought I would do is show you a frugal way to make your own potting mix with things that you might already have at home. Um, so the major constituent of potting mix is compost, and if you've got a compost bin you might be set as far as that goes. Just one thing to remember is that when making seed raising mix in particular, it's really important that the compost is fully decomposed. Now, if you don't have any compost that's ready or you don't have a compost bin, there is another source of compost that you may have just laying around at home. So what I'm showing you here is some wood chips that have been laid down as the paths in my main vegetable growing area. These paths were laid down about 6 years ago and they've been topped up lightly once or twice since then, but mainly they've just been lying there decomposing quietly. And it so happens that the major constituent of commercial potting mix or seed raising mix is usually composted pine bark or wood chips. So what I'm going to do is mine my paths to get the compost that I'm going to use as the main ingredient for my seed raising mix. And here you can see the garden fork, and I've just opened up the ground a little bit, and you can see that it's nicely decomposed, but there are still a lot of big pieces which obviously we don't want in seed raising mix, so they'll need to be sieved out. So here's some that I dug up earlier, and you can see that it's a mixture of coarse and fine particles, so it definitely does need to be sieved. And here's our trusty soil sieve, which is just a standard seed raising tray, because why buy something new when you've got something lying around that'll do the job. So I'm just going to load that up with the rotted wood chips. And then I'm going to give it a shake. This is quite therapeutic, and it's also a really good core exercise. So there are the coarse pieces that we've sifted out, and they'll go into a third tub and they'll go back on the paths. And here's the finished product. So you can see it's nice and fine and uniform. Now you could use that on its own, but I'm going to add a few extra things. I'm going to add some sand to improve the drainage. That's just ordinary paving sand from the hardware. And I'm going to add some coir just to lighten the mix out a little bit. And sometimes, not always, I'll use vermiculite, which is the mineral mica that's been puffed up under heat. And what that does is it really aerates and lightens the mix, and it also has excellent moisture holding properties. But that's not essential. That's an extra expense that you don't necessarily need. So there you have it. There's your main ingredient, compost, for free. So you can take that, off paths, off garden beds that have been mulched. And as far as other ingredients go, there's a million recipes around, and really it's up to you, what proportions you use. Experiment, use what you've got, keep it simple. Happy gardening.